Hey, Inspired Tribe. Welcome to the Inspired Livestream. We are excited that you're here. It is Monday, July 19, 2021, WON. We're healthy, we're wealthy, we're whole, and we're free. My name is Jean Nolan. This is Kristin Nolan, and it is wonderful that you're here with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for another beautiful week of expansion and getting together. Thank you for all of your comments, your emails. We've been receiving a lot of emails lately, and we're excited to hear from you. Again, we're a little behind the curve. Kristin and I really like to take the time and read all of your emails. Also, leave some time for reflection, leave some time for thought, so we don't just kind of, answer from the hip. We like to take our time and feel our way through this. Very important to us. So we will, we try to answer all of our emails, and usually it turns out to be most of them, and then sometimes a little later we come back to some of those. But we are excited that you're here. We'd love to welcome all new tribe members that have joined us in the past weeks. Our channel has grown quite rapidly in the last weeks and months, and we would love to welcome you all. For those of you who are new here, as soon as you tune in, you become a part of this tribe. There's really no membership fee, no form to fill out. It's really a free will co-creationship that's happening. And there's ways beyond this live stream here and the live chat here that you can communicate with each other. We put a link in the top. It's pinned to the top of that live chat section. And there are all our links, including the Inspired Tribe chat on Telegram, which is a wonderful place to talk to each other, share things, ask questions, and uplift, inspire, and so forth. It's a place where you all can connect and talk to each other. And, knowing that you share this tribe, so that was one thing that was important to us. And now it's all here, and we keep expanding on this. Also, let me go through who's here today. It's so wonderful to see you. Hey, Gary. Gary's tuning in from Nashville, very close to us here. Frank, if you want internationals, tuning in from Germany. Welcome, Frank. Illy is tuning in from around the corner here in Franklin, too. That's wonderful. Just ran into her earlier. Agnieszka is tuning in from Scotland. Barb, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Ileana, good to see you. Wonderful. Hey, Jan from Sweden tuning in. Wonderful. Elizabeth. And that's a wonderful way, guys. Michael is tuning in here from Sudbury. So it's a wonderful way. Just introduce yourself in the live chat. Tell us where you're tuning in from. And, create new connections here. Miss Princess from
South
Canada.
Carolina. We
got Gary E. from Toronto. Hey, Canada is represented well. We got Ollie from Charleston, South Carolina. AJ, Florida. We got Nezrin from Tunisia. Wonderful. Welcome. Renee from Ontario. Emma's tuning in from Italy. Man, so good to see the Inspired Tribe representing all continents. And maybe one day we'll have a live stream with all countries represented. That would be wonderful. So we're excited that you're here. Joffrey is tuning in from the Netherlands. Wonderful. So thank you for tuning in. And this has been a topic in the making for a few months now. I think we've gotten this question more on every platform. Really, someone asked about this. And the initial question was, can you do a live stream on the topic of reincarnation and how to exit that cycle of karma and reincarnation? By the way, I think I forgot this today. My name is Jean Nolan, and this is my wonderful wife, Kristin Nolan, the wise voice behind the camera. I think I forgot this today, right?
I think you said it.
Did I? Well, for shits and giggles, one more time. So the topic of karma and reincarnation, and we're gonna go about this simply in the assumption that there is no real question about reincarnation. Now, in our minds, we know this to be true. If you're a skeptic, if you believe differently, if that's totally fine. Maybe you still want to join us for this and kind of see if there's something that speaks to you, inspires you to dig deeper on certain things. But the cycle of reincarnation and karma, if you will, has really been addressed in every spiritual teaching in one way or another. If you go to the root of it, including Christianity, of course, in most spiritual teachings over time, it's been kind of put on a back burner or hidden. one of the two things. But reincarnation is not just a very real thing. It's also kind of a logical thing. We are not our bodies, okay? First thing, we're not our bodies. We have this vehicle, this temple. It's a beautiful thing that we can move through this life with our bodies, but we are not our bodies. Our consciousness is not connected to our bodies, or you could not possibly explain all the near-death experiences and all of that. Because when people have near-death experiences, and we know this firsthand, we've had not near-death, but other experiences of that kind. But we know people personally that had near-death experiences that while their body was, medically speaking, clinically speaking, dead, they had awareness beyond the body. They could observe the situation, but they couldn't just do that. They could expand into other places. They could see things that were in other countries or even beyond Earth. So that means that consciousness and awareness is not part of the brain. It's not part of the body. It resides in the body most of the time while we're here. However, as we work, as we develop spiritually, we expand our consciousness beyond our body. That's literally the work. And so it's important to understand that when we speak of reincarnation, it doesn't mean we return to the same body or we are the same person in human terms. It means that we have a higher self, a soul, if you will call it that can and gathers experience over lifetimes and learns certain things and explores and expands and transcends until it reaches a certain level of maturity where it doesn't have to go through this experience anymore. And that's literally what we want to talk about today, the karmic cycle. And let's go to the word karma. Again, it's described in all spiritual philosophical teachings, but karma has for some reason become the most popular term. But actually the word karma, if you look at the origins in Sanskrit, it actually means action or deed or fate, which is kind of, it already says a lot that it can mean action or fate at the same time. It already shows us it's all connected, right? And in Buddhism, for example, karma is it's a sum of all actions in a person's life, which then determines the next life. And this is really interesting. This is where we tap into already what this means is that everything that you do in one lifetime, all the actions, the thoughts, everything that happens creates the energy, creates the blueprint for the next lifetime, which means that we literally have lessons to learn and things to understand. Now, the question was over and over again, how do I get out of this cycle of rebirth, cycle of reincarnation? Now, if you go through past life regressions or different kinds of, in different spiritual teachings, you will see that this is not a 1, 2, 3, 4 time thing. We reincarnate hundreds and thousands of times. And some people say, I literally want out of this cycle because it appears that it is not quite voluntary. And I do believe it's voluntary in a bigger sense. But as long as we have these interdependencies and connections, we will continue to return until we resolve it. And that's it in a nutshell. But of course, the picture is a lot bigger. So if we want to break it down to the most simple thing, and you know what we do, we kind of peel the onion until we get to the core. That's what we do here. Basically, the first step to overcoming this constant cycle of reincarnation is awareness and consciousness. You first have to become aware of who you really are and aware of the cosmic laws that govern the universe and our lives as well. So the first step is awareness. Until you are aware, you are simply trapped in a constant cycle of, if you want to call it problem, reaction, solution. And basically it means, whatever is done onto you, you will seek revenge or you will try to pay it back. And then, and then there will be payback again. And it's a constant back and forth that can only be interrupted, this cycle, by first becoming aware that it is happening in the first place. You have to be aware. that our presence in life is way more than just the physical experience and the physical body. Now, granted, in today's live stream, we will just be able to barely scratch the surface because it is not a mental understanding. The mental perspective is just one. It's a true soul understanding. It's a remembering who you really are, and you can grasp the mental concept, but not embody this truth. This is what life experience is for. But basically, the first step is becoming aware. And the awareness is, I am more than what I appear to be. I'm more than what I have been told. And then you begin to slowly open up all these little boxes that appear to be completely predefined and that already ready. There's nothing there to change anymore. All the so-called truths and facts that you are presented with in life, and then you begin to look at them from a different point of view. You look at them because when you begin to become aware of who you are, you also begin to become aware that you're part of a bigger picture. You also begin to become aware that your life is part of a bigger plan that you wanted for yourself. You wanted to have experiences. And it is said, and it has been said, that throughout your cycle, your karmic cycle, you will experience pretty much everything there is to experience, and you will give and receive all of those experiences as well. Now, as we are in this lifetime, it's hard to imagine that there was a time where we could have been extremely cruel, extremely, unjust. And so let's leave it at that. It is said that that's the case. Perhaps there are mechanisms that have allowed us to seek understanding through something else than just pure experience. Now that is a possibility. But when you become aware and you begin to seek what exactly governs, our lives, we become aware clearly that the laws and the rules that humanity and society makes are sometimes more and sometimes less in tune with the universal laws, but they're never the laws that govern our lives in the bigger sense. That's what we do to kind of how to interact with each other while we're here. But there are universal cosmic laws that once we begin to understand, embody, we begin to live consciously with them, accept them as what they are, don't fight against them anymore. And that's where the final realization comes, that whatever we don't look at in our lives, whichever situation is painful we don't want to look at, whichever thing keeps appearing in our lives, a struggle, a challenge, a problem, a pain, an illness, whatever it is, if we don't look at it now, there will be another chance to look at it. That is basically what you could, if you could break down karma to the simplest thing, is it will continue to come to you in one way, form, shape, or another. And I can tell you, it does not matter where you move. It does not matter how much distance you want to put between you now and your old life, unless it's looked at, unless it's accepted and healed. It will continue to show up in your life with greater and greater intensity. In other words, if there's something in your life, in your karmic cycle, if you will, and it's such a big picture of what that all entails, because it entails everything. It entails what you have done to yourself because you've been not in tune with you, with what others have done, what you have done to others, where you have violated others' freedoms, where you have violated others' sovereignties. In the big game of life, it entails everything. And so we need to look at everything. We need to accept that there is something to look at. And so there are these 12 laws of karma, if you will, that kind of explain the whole cosmic cycle. And while most of us in our experiences never define, or never come to these realizations as to we're going to write them down and list those 12 laws, if we truly do our work, if we truly show up for our soul's work, we realize all of them on a soul level, and we live by them, whether we consciously can word them or not, if that makes sense. The first law, of course, is the law of cause and effect, which you have all been presented with so many times. Now it's been, it's called the law of attraction. But the law of attraction really entails more than just that. But the law of cause and effect says you reap what you sow, right? And you could say, well, that's all I need to know. But within this, you reap what you sow, there's so much more. There's so much more that is attached to that. And that's why we always say, to simply say, this, this one essence about the law of attraction, and that's going to govern your life. And if you only put out positive thoughts, and if you only, are love and light, then that's exactly, what you're going to. So that is oversimplified, because it does not yet include everything that has happened that had an effect on you, that affected your soul, that has traumatic experiences literally downloaded inside of you. Until you heal those, none of it is really truly free. So the first law is the law of cause and effect. The second law is the law of creation, which means that if we don't create it, it doesn't happen. Life doesn't happen by itself or by default. We create all of it. And this is sometimes challenging to accept, but it is one of those things that we need to accept, that we truly are creators. As we advance on our soul's journey, and as we become more expanded versions of ourselves, we become more conscious creators. Now we begin to tap into our true power. But it needs to be understood that there is a law of creation, and that you create. Life doesn't happen by default, by itself. The next law is the law of humility, and that's a word that's misunderstood. It's the law of accepting what is, because only then can you change it. And this is we've been talking about this for a long time now in the live streams, that we can only change what we are aware of. We don't have the capability to change beyond our awareness. So if we don't have an understanding for something, we don't have the capacity to change it. We might subconsciously even support it, even though it doesn't serve us. So that's where the another law, and it'll come a little down the list, comes into play. But we need to be aware of that. Whatever we try to put blinders on and kind of not look at, we cannot change, good, bad, or not, or we cannot make it better, and we cannot, do anything about it unless we are aware of it. And that's the law of humility. The law of growth is basically means that everything happens for our expansion. We would love, and there are whole political movements, there are whole philosophical movements that paint the human being as a victim. And while we understand within our human experience that there are situations where we see a perpetrator and a victim, we need to understand that at the highest level, both the perpetrator and the victim belong together. It's an agreement that was created. Now, does this mean we accept suffering, violence, or any of those things beyond this point where we understand it? Never. Of course not. The whole point of our journey, of our growth, is to overcome this cycle. To overcome this cycle where we need to constantly show each other shadows and light, where we bring it together to a harmonious, balanced state again. That's the whole point of this big journey, if you will. The next law is the law of responsibility, what I hinted at earlier. It's really to acknowledge that it's all me. This is a tough one for most people. This is where most people want to, when they're in a coaching session, they want to storm out. Because that's where true growth, expansion, understanding begins to happen. It was empowerment. That's where true empowerment begins to happen. The understanding that ultimately you are the source of that experience. Ultimately, you are the source. Again, we're speaking about pure spiritual principles that only become relative in our human experience. And that it is our seeking as human beings, as spiritual beings, to return to that pure understanding again. It doesn't mean you can hear this today, flip a switch, and just be that. It means you allow for the journey to happen, wherever you are in that journey. The next law is the law of connection. And that's also something that, everything in this cosmos is connected. It doesn't matter how big or small something is. Every little deed. Remember, probably most of you have heard about the butterfly effect. And it was said that And that was set from a more, not so much from a spiritual metaphysical standpoint, but from a purely physical standpoint, from a physics standpoint, that when a butterfly flaps its wings, somewhere in Argentina, there is an effect caused by that will translate over to all parts of the planet and probably beyond it. It's so hard to grasp that because it seems such a gentle thing that could not have any effect on anything but the immediate surroundings of a butterfly. But that's exactly what the butterfly effect tries to portray in more physical terms. Everything is connected. Every little thing, every thought, every deed, every action, every reaction, everything it's one big picture. There's nothing that's not inside of it. And so everything affects everything. And this is a concept that we get to grasp mentally to a certain extent. We get to accept it mentally. But it is only when we go into deeper realms of awareness and broader spectrums of consciousness that we truly embody and feel that. And it's the point in your life when you truly embody this, when you truly comprehend it, that you then begin to ask yourself the question before you take an action, even before you begin thinking a train of thoughts. What effect will it have on the whole? What is the purpose? Do I even give it meaning and purpose, or am I just randomly saying and doing things? It's when you begin to really take responsibility for all that you express, do, and say, gradually, of course, because we weren't brought up to be aware. We weren't brought up to be present. Which brings us to the law of focus. The law of focus is also one thing in our hyper productive society. We don't want to acknowledge that, but we can truly only focus on one thing at a time. And that is the beautiful thing about the acceleration of thought. We've talked about this before. The more pure your thoughts become, the more conscious and aware you are, the more present you are, the more healed you are, which means you've healed past trauma, you're not burdened anymore, the more accelerated your thought process becomes, because you don't have all these old thoughts and pains and suffering that insert themselves into your thought process. It is now a more pure thought process. And what you do is when you begin to think faster and faster and create faster and faster, it's a wonderful thing. You still don't think 7 thoughts simultaneously. You stack them, but you stack them really fast, and they all connect to each other, and they all have cause and effect, and you're basically tapping into the supercomputer because you're thinking with your universal mind. But there's still focus, clear focus on one thing at a time, even if that time is only a millisecond. But we still need to acknowledge that focus is what allows us to expand. When we want to be multitaskers, it's a purely human idea to multitask. Purely human idea. Nothing else in nature is in a hurry. It's only us. Nothing else hurries in nature. Nature never hurries, gets everything done. It's only us humans that believe we need to hurry. But what does it do when we hurry? It says by default that when we hurry through one situation, that this moment here isn't as significant as the next one. We need to hurry to get through this faster, as if there is such a thing, and then get to the next moment that will have more significance. Whereas in nature, it is understood that every moment has equal significance. Everything is of equal importance. Then there is a law of giving and hospitality. It's interesting. It sounds different than what it is. The law of giving and hospitality really means that if you truly believe in something, there will be a situation that will allow you to prove to yourself whether your belief is true or not. It will come to you. If you have formed a belief, then a situation will come that will test that belief and say, well, put it to the test. Is it really true for you? Does it really feel right for you? This will happen over and over again. All our beliefs are being mirrored in our lives, and we get to test them. We get to see, does this really serve me? Am I in a movement that allows me to become a better version of myself? Or am I still keeping a belief and holding a belief that does not serve me and actually holds me back? And that means, again, awareness. As you can see, all of these laws, all of this whole spectrum is only here to create awareness. We are not taught to be aware. As a matter of fact, we are taught to be as unaware as possible, and there's a reason for that. The first 7 years of our lives are the programming phase. This is important to understand. This is important to understand in the bigger picture. And in these first 7 years, if it runs according to the Matrix program, we're being inserted with belief systems that serve the Matrix, not you. So then you have formed a belief system that will determine the actions of your life. And because you're constantly encouraged to live in an unaware state, distracted state, when you're distracted, your subconscious runs you. When was your subconscious formed? In the first 7 years of your life. When were those belief systems formed? In the first 7 years of your life. When this then runs your life, it's successful for the Matrix. If not, if you step out of it, become aware, self-awareness. First of all, self-awareness, then awareness of all that is. You step out of those programs, you heal them and reprogram and put something in there that is beneficial to you and all. That's when you step out of it. And you could call the karmic cycle and the karmic cycle and the Matrix are very much overlapping in many ways. But that's the law of giving and hospitality. Everything that you believe will constantly come to you as a test to see if it's really true for you or not. The next law is the law of here and now. It says it all. It's only an illusion that we can live in the past or in the future, but we can distract ourselves from the present moment by being in a thought of worry, in a thought of regret, or in a thought of fear. Now, worry is a projection to the future, and regret is a projection into the past. But really, there's only the present moment. And what it does is, if we do that, it takes away the power from the here and now. And so to embody this means to remind yourself, practice presence, true presence. And it starts with the senses. You retrain your senses to be present. What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I touch? Those senses have meaning. But then there's another sense that is never mentioned. You call it the third eye or the pineal gland or spiritual heart. But there is another sense that is never mentioned that is stronger than all the other senses. It's all encompassing. And that is, you have to train yourself to do that again. Because this one was never mentioned by anyone. No one ever, you can if you're a sommelier, then you train your nose how to distinguish very fine notes in wine and grapes, and if you're a coffee roaster, you do the same thing. You teach your taste buds how to distinguish very, very little details. So we're training those senses as we need them. We're not training that third eye because, as a matter of fact, it's not even talked about. So true presence means to train and become present in our senses and to become present in our spiritual being, which perceives so much more. Then we have the law of change, which means that everything repeats itself until it's looked at and healed, until we realize what it is. That's why people say history always repeats itself. Why? Because we approach the same challenges with the same mindset and the same beliefs. What does that mean? You will say, but wait, it's so different. Our world is so different today than it was 300 years ago. Well, really, no. Yes, we have different buildings and maybe different technology, but the emotional scale is the same. It's not changed. What humans feel, what humans desire, love, happiness, joy, freedom, excitement, security, health, all those things haven't changed. They're still the same. So our experience will repeat individually and collectively until we learn the lessons, if you will, until we expand our awareness, our consciousness, until we see it for what it is, accept it, heal it, transmute it. It's being talked about at every level, political, socio-political, geopolitical, and financial and economical, but truly it's a spiritual principle that everything repeats itself until we heal it. Look at your life. It doesn't matter. If you just change your outer circumstances, your experiences will still be the same. There are some very painful, there's a very, we were able to observe this from a helping standpoint, from helping people. People that are in abusive relationships will attract, even if they leave that relationship, unless the inner acceptance healing, unless the spiritual journey has happened, will attract another abusive relationship. And you wonder, how's that possible? Out of all the people in the world, why is this person always moving into another abusive relationship? And it checks all the boxes here, but it is an understanding that truly it comes back always to us. And this is hard to hear. This is especially hard to hear. But those who accept this, those who see it, who allow themselves to see it, they heal once and for all. They will never, ever attract an abusive relationship again. But it goes beyond pure, what am I thinking right now? It's a much broader process, much broader process. There's a law of patience and reward, and it's exactly what it says. The lower we are, or it's not a judgment, an observation, the lower we are on our vibrational scale, the longer does it take for our intentions to materialize. The longer does it take for things that we desire to come to us. And there's this allowing for the process, for the journey to take place. It's another theme that's always here, is once people begin to understand these things, they want it now, they want it all in the moment. And the journey is the key. The longer you walk, the faster you move. It's just that way. So patience and reward mean that if you advance on your spiritual journey, things will come to you at a faster pace and in a more advanced way. I saw, for the first time in this live stream, I just saw a significant drop in numbers. And do you know what it was? It was the abusive relationships. This is exactly what I just said. People, this is something that triggers people. But that's the source of healing. I'll never stop saying that. I will never stop saying it. Kristin will never stop saying it. That's the source of healing. We don't want to hear it. We don't want to accept it, but it is that. And it's an empowerment thing. If you allow yourself to go past this, oh, so it's my fault, which of course a lot of people, that's where their mind goes to. You go to, I now have the power to heal. I want to go back to that point because I just saw what happened. Now I have the power to heal. Understanding that the beautiful thing about all of this is not that you become this lexicon of understanding all of this and you'll be able to tell it to others. The beautiful thing is that you embody the truth, that you don't need anyone else in your life, that you don't need to wait for the right person to heal. You don't need to wait for the right circumstance to heal. And there's no one outside of you that facilitates that for you. At the beginning, it's a source of frustration. Then it's the source of your greatest empowerment, because it means it begins and ends with you always. And if I were a liar, I'd say, man, I mean, life has been always super easy. I've accepted this in the moment. You know, I've always knew it's me. No, I fought this. I fought hard against it. I was fighting this. I didn't want to accept that certain things, even certain really bad things, I was still the source of that creation. Whether it happened in this lifetime or in another lifetime, who cares? It's still me that is the source. So if I'm the source, it's only me that can create that change. That's the source of empowerment. Now all of a sudden, you don't need the belief that someone else will change it for you, make it better for you, will be the external savior. You awaken this consciousness within you. You can call it Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, but you awaken this consciousness within you. And then there's the law of significance and inspiration. Also has a deep meaning. It's that we understand that everything we do is a contribution to our own lives, but also a contribution to the whole. This is when it begins to get really good. What are we looking at?
Read the comment from Vi Becky.
I agree with it, except not that it's because of law frequency. It's the rewards. Well, I see what I'm trying to say, and I've said this before in the beginning of the live stream. These are universal cosmic laws that are active whether we understand them or not, whether we accept them or not. In our human lives, we wouldn't be human if we didn't look at it in some relative way, because we relate to it in some way. This is looking at it from the outside in. This is not experiencing the actual pain and suffering in the moment. For those who are experiencing the actual pain and suffering in the moment, it is way more challenging to grasp this. Why do I know? Because I experienced pain and suffering, because I experienced impatience, because I experienced all those things. And at certain times I experienced frustration or anger, because I have a human experience, and it's part of that human experience. I haven't yet met a master that doesn't have that. I haven't yet met a spiritual master that doesn't have that. What we're doing is we're seeking to reach this level of awareness and understanding where we can move into the place of healing and forgiveness. And that's what this all means. When we can move into this ultimate place of healing and forgiveness, we actually exit this karmic cycle. And at that point, we become true creators, because we were always meant to be true creators. But when we heal and forgive on the biggest possible scale, includes everything, we exit this karmic cycle, and then we get to choose freely and fully, do we want to reincarnate? Is it an experience that we want to have again or not? But this only happens when we accept on the deepest levels that this journey doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. Challenges don't randomly approach us, we called them into our lives. As horrific as some of those challenges are, which we accept and which we're part of desiring to heal all of it on all levels so they won't continue to happen on this planet. It's acknowledging that there's human suffering. It's not ignoring that. It's not diminishing that, or saying, or basically, being led to a victim of any kind of abuse and saying, well, you brought it on. That's not what this is about at all. It's when the true healing begins that these realizations happen within all of us. And it's as much a human as it is a spiritual journey. That's always to be acknowledged. We have the utmost respect. We work with people that experience all kinds of things and have experienced all kinds of things. And we are people that have experienced a lot of things. So we have the utmost respect for every human journey. But if somebody asks me or us, what is the way to exit this cycle of reincarnation, then we go to the root, go to the universal laws. And these are the universal laws. Now, you don't have to name them to embody them. If you go through life and accept and heal and forgive and see the connection of everything, then you're embodying them, whether you can name them or not. And then you do that. And the difference then is that you become the sole creator of your experience again, but you're also so much more powerful. It's just what happens on a soul's journey. And we're seeing this on this planet right now. We're seeing this huge transformation where a certain group of people will remain in this karmic cycle and will continue to go through it. And another group is exiting the karmic cycle and is stepping into their true creatorship again, how they were meant to be, beginning to be like that. And that's happening, and that's the discrepancy, and that's why we won't be able to bring 7 billion people on the same page. That's not going to happen. We're going to find consensus, and we're going to find agreements on certain things, but we're not going to get all on the same page simply because the path is splitting. There's a fork in the road. Actually, a few days ago, we were crossing the street, and my daughter pointed out a fork that was in the road. I didn't even realize it until I picked it up. It was a beautiful, nice piece of silverware, but there was a fork literally in the road. I'd never seen a fork in the road before, not a physical fork in the road, but it showed me once again, that's where we're at. There is a fork in the road. And you can continue to be a victim of your life and you will continue to be in this cycle. Or you can begin to realize that everything is happening for you. Everything. These words, what's happening next, what happened yesterday, and begin to find the greater purpose, the greater meaning, because everything has purpose and meaning. Whether you want to see it like that, it's up to you. But this is where the journey's at on this planet. It's going to be very clear, and it is already very clear. Those who are victims will become greater victims. Those who are empowered, will become more empowered. That's going to grow exponentially on both sides. So I hope this brought some clarity to this. Again, we can only scratch, not even scratch at the surface. We can only begin to point, but this is really a lifetimes of experience, many lifetimes of experience, many lessons learned, many things repeated, many things looked at from all perspectives until we were able and willing to heal. And so many people know this from personal experience. How many times has one and the same problem appeared in different costumes? Different people that appear in your life, but they present you with the same challenge. And you try to fight it, push it away, shut it off, run away, all these mechanisms. But until you look it straight in the eye, until you accept it for what it is and allow yourself to heal, that situation is going to reappear and reappear beyond lifetimes. It doesn't matter. If this lifetime's over, there's a next one coming that you're going to get the opportunity. At a certain point in your soul's journey, you will have the desire to overcome this cycle. You'll say, been there, done that. I've seen it. I don't need to see everything 17 times. And that's where the healing begins. And I can't tell you how long that takes. Nothing is ever truly complete. It just shifts into a new experience. And so this is what's happening on the planet to so many people in a nutshell. Of course, way more expanded, and we can't give credit in 45 minutes to the whole picture, but you can dig deeper for yourself. And the main purpose here is to feel your way through it. Feel your way. Go look up the 12 laws of karma or look up karmic cycles. Look up that and see what you feel. See what you resonate with. That which you resonate with, where there's little resistance, that's usually like a walk in the park for you. And then look at that which you have very strong negative reactions to. That's where your healing is about to take place if you allow it. That which you reject the most, push away the most, don't want to see, have almost an aggressive allergic reaction to, that's the one. And then sit with it. If you allow yourself to sit down and just be, then that will come up. And then if you really want to heal, you allow it. You don't push it away, no matter how unpleasant it is in a moment. You allow it, because that's where healing happens. Almost no one does this. We distract ourselves. We push it away. We learn mechanisms on how not to do that. But while we need to constantly distract ourselves for this not to happen, we just need to allow it once or twice. And the healing is complete in that regard. And then you never ever need to distract yourself again to suppress that. So there's so much to this picture, and I could go on, and we'll be here, would be here again, or still here in 24 hours, because there's so much to say. But there's even more to experience, and it's your experience. It's your journey. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're a banker or a bus driver, or whether you're a teacher, or whether you're a painter or a physicist, or working at the grocery store. You are that being too. There's no limitation to the spiritual journey, and you're that being too. It doesn't stop with certain professions, and people in all walks of life are being awakened to that truth. From personal experience, I can say you accept it, allow it, live it. There's so much for you to be and expand into and have. There's a whole new universe, which will make your old life tiny in comparison. Tiny, minuscule. The last comment. okay, please can you give an example of a thing you need to sit with and heal? So basically, this is the most simple exercise. If you sat down in a quiet place by yourself, turned off all distractions, made sure that nothing would come and interrupt you, really, 2, 3, 4 hours, you shut yourself off from the world and you just sit, and you don't plan, and you don't ponder or think about your favorite TV show, what you're going to cook tomorrow, or how you need to do laundry. The best thing is to take care of all the things that need to be taken care of, so your mind can't trick you into go there. And let's say that you feel, all you need to feel is something's holding me back. I can't, no matter what I do, I can't seem to be, to have enough money. I'm always behind, I never really catch up with the bills. And no matter what I do, I change my job, I change my profession, change my attitude. But this is a limitation that keeps coming up. That's all you need to know. And then when you sit and the distractions are shut off and you have taken care of everything that needs to be taken care of, then you just allow yourself to feel that limitation. How it feels when you're at that point again where there's not enough. There's a zero or a minus on your bank account statement, and there's bills to pay, that frustration, that sadness, that anger, whatever comes up. And then you allow for everything that is attached to that to come up. You don't fight it, rationalize it, push it away. You accept it. You accept the anger. You accept the frustration. There's something underneath it. And then there will be a feeling, an emotion underneath it. And you accept that emotion no matter how bad it feels. And even if you just want to get up and stop because it's painful, and you cry and you don't want to cry anymore because it hurts, but you allow it. You still allow it. Maybe there will be pictures that will come up. Maybe you'll have memories. Maybe there will be something coming up. Eventually there will. But if you would allow that all the way through, and you will know when it's through. There's something extraordinary that happens when you're through. You would heal on that level. You will truly heal for the first time. And it has been said that all of humanity's problems stem from from man, humans being incapable of sitting alone in a room, which really means we're incapable of healing. We don't allow ourselves to heal. We've been taught that it is bad to feel pain and suffering. But this would be the one, and I've just pointed out one thing. You experience it as financial limitation. It could be, I cannot find a partner. I cannot be in a relationship. Everything always goes bad. I can't seem to get healthy, I can't seem to ever find my body weight that I know my healthy body weight. It doesn't matter what the challenge is. It's never an external problem. It's always something inside of us that keeps us from going there. And unless we allow for the root cause to come up and for us to accept it and then see it and then say, I forgive you, whether that's forgiving yourself or forgiving someone else. It's all happened in our minds and hearts. It's not happening in a physical world. We don't have to say to someone, I forgive you. You forgive them in your soul level. And this is why the great spiritual teachers of the past, one of the reasons why they have disappeared from society, why they have gone out and sat with themselves in nature, in a shed, in a hut somewhere, on a hill, on a mountain, why they were completely secluded. No distractions, no food, even no food, nothing, is because they needed to heal and go through everything until they reached the source, the true source. And that's where all the wisdom came up, because once there's nothing distracting you anymore, once there's no more trauma and pain, all the good stuff comes, all the real stuff, the wisdom of the ages. And so that's where this comes from. But how many people do you know that have ever done this? How many people do you know that were ever willing to heal on this deepest level? And this is where it comes from. And if you want to look at the story of Jesus, could it not be, this is hypothetically speaking, that this experience was either an ascended master returning to Earth or a new master being born on Earth that has exited the karmic cycle, and the world around him was to witness it because he has access these deep levels. I don't know if this is exactly how it happened, but I can tell you that there's a level of empowerment that exceeds everything that you've ever seen when you do that. When you go into these deep layers of healing, deep to the source of things, you can do it with help. You can do it by yourself. You have it all within you. It's the willingness to suffer through it. I'm sorry, there's another way, because you're going to suffer through it for this period of time. But if you truly allow it, forgive it, then it's healed. And the pattern that is attached to it in your life is healed as well. You're going to start to see different outcomes for the first time. You're going to start to see more abundance. You're going to start to experience love. You're going to start to experience beautiful things. Big picture, really big picture. And there's really not much more than that we're all capable of holding mentally right now. And I don't want to add to that. I don't want that bucket to be so full that we cannot reflect on this over the next hours, maybe, if you have time to reflect, or days. And do reflect, please. Everything has purpose and meaning. We never just sit down here and just babble. There's always a meaning and purpose to this, and perfect timing. We trust in that. We show up for that. So
Free Speech, send us a contribution.
Thank you so much, Free Speech for All, for your generous contribution. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who are sending contributions, or shopping at the merch store, attending our courses, or booking a one-on-one session or EUCY sessions, or going to the Yado retreat, which is happening September 30th to October 3rd. If you're inspired to look into any of these things, click the link that's in the top section. I mean, that's what we've come here. We love this. We love doing what we do. We've chosen this consciously. And it is all, for us, it's all about that. For those who want to take that second path, that are at, that are at the fork in the road and want to take that second path, that's what we're here for, to help guide, heal, expand. That being said, Tribesters, we'll be here again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Standard. It was a wonderful, wonderful journey today again. Thank you for co-creating, bringing your comments. I will read through all of them and get inspired, probably, to expand on those in one way, shape, or form. But we'll see you again tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central Standard, right here on the Inspired channel. We love you all, and thank you for being with us.